Right, call to order the town council meeting of March 13th. Sorry for the hesitation, there's a reason. March 13th, call to order. First item on the agenda, Brad Schneider is not here, Brad is appearing, not sure. First item on the agenda is the minutes of December 12. Does anybody have any questions, observations?
I just have, on the last page, or actually, just the word "had" at the top sentence, Mayor Sullivan discussing the had been overtime entities that. And then, fourth paragraphs down, bed and breakfast owner Phil Irvin discussed the Airbnbs, the I is a capital.
Okay.
Just a little, but otherwise everything's great.
Do I have a motion to approve? Or if any other comments? All right, I'll second. I'm not sure. First, second.
Okay.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Treasurer's report, Mr. Goble.
Thanks. The consolidated assets of the town of Washington as of 2/28/2017 were $574,953.44. During that same period, the Washington Water Works consolidated assets were $12,618.03, and the wastewater works was $4,868.13. Washington Water Works February usage, we pumped 935,100 gallons, backwashed 31,300, leaving us 903,800 gallons billable gallons. We billed 584,905, leaving us 318,895 gallons of treated but not yet billed. Total income, town of Washington, February 2017 was $19,908.61. The income for the Washington Water Works was $6,509.56, and the wastewater income was $9,980.81. Attached are the bills to be paid, and the additional bills, I don't think there's anything unusual on the bills to be paid. On the additional bills, we do have a check to the Spotsylvania County Treasurer for $9,307.50. That's money that we owed them. We actually had sent them the checks, some of them 2 years ago, 2015 and such, and they never cashed them. And I guess they got somebody new who came about and said, hey, we never got this check, so we had to reissue the checks. They never cashed them, so this is money that we had owed them for legal fees and for the nutrients. That is taken care of. Any other questions, I will try to answer.
Any questions, observations? That last item Jerry referred to is tied into the wastewater plant where we had to buy some credits from Spotsylvania years ago, having to do with environmental issues related to the plant. Nothing of great consequence. Do I have a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, Brad. Next item, Planning Commission. Fred, do you want to?
Sure.
Fred Catlin, Chairman of the Planning Commission.
Good afternoon, or good evening to everyone. I want to share with you, and there are copies out there for the public, draft 2.1 of the Planning Commission's comprehensive plan. We have put that up there just to show the town council that members of the Planning Commission are actually earning their keep, such that it is. The process that we have been going through is to do an information download based upon public feedback. The next step is March 27th at our Planning Commission meeting to upload more data, census, financial and demographic information, to begin identifying more specifically the concerns that we have heard, and also to begin identifying goals and objectives. The benefit that we have is that that meeting is public, and we invite everyone in the public to attend that meeting. We also are looking forward to having a work session with the town on April 17th to go over this information and to garner the feedback from the town. Finally, I want to thank the members of the Planning Commission who have put all this work in to get this document to you, and to the feedback that we've gotten from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to thank all the members of the Planning Commission who've been working very hard on this and will continue to have to work hard on it. And look forward to reading this version. I really do want to appreciate what you folks are doing. No one has, you all have not had a chance to read this, but do you have questions or thoughts or whatever?
I worked through it.
Or maybe look through it.
I'm impressed. It's a great place to start. Two comments I would make an observation. One is that it currently incorporates an awful lot that came out of the 2 work sessions. And so I have to remind myself that at this stage, it's doing a faithful job of trying to record and integrate all the input that's coming from the work sessions and from the public. So it should not be necessarily attributed to just the attitudes, opinions, and ideas of the members of the Planning Commission. I think sometimes that's overlooked. They're really planning for more than themselves. They're planning for the community, and I want to commend them for showing that kind of capacity to gather and incorporate. The second thing is we should all be aware that as this becomes more of a topic of conversation, especially if it continues to get the kind of good coverage the local newspaper is giving it, that there's always going to be some opportunity for misunderstanding. And as I read the document and then read the coverage of the document, I was a little concerned that the statements made about the dependence of the town on a single large entity should never be construed as it's a problem that the Unit Little Washington is in Little Washington, or it should never be understood that there's any antipathy or opposition to the continued success, growth, and well-being of the Unit Little Washington. However, like any investor who only has one stock in his portfolio, the town should be aware of the fact that we should never find ourselves in the position of taking the Unit Little Washington for granted, viewing it as a benefactor or patron. It is a highly successful, well-known, important part of the town, the county, and I would dare say the state. But it is a concern. So without finding anything particularly objectionable in the coverage, I just hope that we all understand going forward that when we note or when the plan notes challenges or concerns, that's what they are. They're challenges for this town going forward, and they should be concerns. It is not a judgment in any way negative on any of the issues that are being raised. It's just a frank conversation about the future of the town 20 years, 25 years out. And so I, for one, appreciate that this is now going to provide us an opportunity as a planning commission, a council, and a town, and probably even the county, to really think seriously, not just rubber stamp anything that's come along in the past, but to really think seriously about what is it the town should be and how do we get there. And for us to do that, we need a good document, but the document has to reflect a kind of open, honest process. So I applaud the Planning Commission at this point, and I expect it's going to only get better as we move forward. So thank you so much for all your efforts.
I just wanted to ask you if this draft was just given to us tonight. Is that right? Just wanted to be sure.
This being the second draft, being given to us and the public.
There was I think the previous draft was there. Didn't we get a notice? No.
Yeah, the first draft was available to the public. This draft number 2 is available to town council and the public as so to speak.
Okay.
So one is not expected to really have intelligent observations about draft 2. Let me make just an observation which isn't about the draft 2 or 1. I think in terms, speaking for myself, but I think other people in the council, this is the draft of the Town of Washington Comprehensive Plan. But I think we all, when we think of people's interest in this town, there are those who live in it. There are those who consider themselves residents of Washington, probably defined by the mailbox, the mail system, and their address says Washington, Virginia. So they're not technically in the town, but they consider the town to be their home. And then the third, sort of think of the concentric circles, are people who live in the county, who come here and use the town and whatever. So we're interested, and the Planning Commission has expressed this a number of times, only re-emphasizing what has already been said. So we're keenly interested in what people think from all those, if you will, concentric circles, those constituencies. So we really encourage people to share whatever their thoughts are on this plan as it evolves.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just add, in the first page of the comprehensive plan, if members of the town council or the members of the public want to give feedback, we would love to receive it. And there is contact information on that first page.
And I suspect, given although there are only X number of people here, given the fact that things are now being taped and videoed, and whatever the appropriate word is, there are folks beyond those present that will actually be watching and listening.
And we hope to get it up on the website, so it will be available to the general public that are not at this meeting now.
Right. But that would be sometime in the next couple of days.
Pardon me?
That would be in the next several days.
If I can answer that.
Yes, sir.
We all have, like, different things that we're juggling. I'm going to be working with Martin to get it up on the website on a special planning commission page.
Which we might make note of in the paper.
Anything else on this?
I think the only thing to think about is that this is just the text. There's a lot more that will go into this document as it gets finalized. So if you're reading it, don't think that it's going to be this little slip of paper. There's a lot. Right now, we're just focusing on the text portion of it.
Okay, if no other comments on that. ARB in the past week approved the enhancement of what was Gary Schwartz's home, now owned by Jim Abdo, part of White Moose. The house in which Gary and Michelle lived in is going to be renovated and greatly improved. ARB approved that. They also approved some significant enhancements to what's referred to as the Norman House that the inn owns, which is adjacent to the post office. That's greatly improved. I was wandering around this afternoon, and people know that I sort of focus on this. But my count is that these two approved enhancements will now bring the total to 19 buildings that have been greatly improved just on Main Street. There's another 12 or 15 in the rest of town. But just on Main Street itself, there are 19 buildings in which people invested significant money to fix up over the last 6 years or so. So much for the ARB report. Under a little bit of the item of news I feel like talking about, I happened to come across a one-page piece of paper 2 Michelin star, and Patrick has won awards, it seems like every year, forever and ever. One almost takes that for granted, or one might take it for granted. And I was actually, when you see one page here of all the various accolades that the inn has gotten, either for the restaurant or for the inn housing, or both. It's really extraordinary. Even as one who knows it's gotten a lot of accolades. So Patrick, congratulations for what you and your 140 or so people do every day.
They do the bulk of it.
If you're going to have one stock in your portfolio, it's nice to know it's a blue chip.
One other item, just to sort of note. Let me remind people that the weekend of April 7th, 8th, and 9th is the now traditional meeting, we're in our 3rd year, I think, of the Washington Film Festival, which brings a lot of people to town and county. It's a lot of fun to go to. Reminding people that that's occurring that weekend. Okay, town attorney, Mr. Bennett, anything?
Yes, sir.
That might lead into Comcast whole business. Do you want to do that, or do you have 2 separate?
Well, first of all, the Comcast franchise still needs some revision. The problem with this document is it's really not suited to a town that has a historic district. So we have to revise this agreement, even though it may have been passed by the county, but revise this so it's consistent with the requirements town has relating to its historic district. And then there's some other issues too that I'd like to address in this. So it's not ready for consideration at this point. The second item I wanted to bring up, and something I've mentioned from time to time, but I think it would be a good idea and might flow well with the fact that the comprehensive plan is coming along, but without getting into the substance of the provisions, the town's subdivision ordinance and zoning ordinance just need to be updated as to technical provisions. For instance, there's a lot of references to section 15.1 of the code, which doesn't exist anymore. A lot of the section references are just not accurate any longer, even if you were to transpose them to 15.2. And there's a number of things that it doesn't address that are required to be addressed now. These are just all technical things without getting into any policy or big zoning this or subdivision that, just technical things. So I would propose, and without trying to reinvent the wheel, do redraft it so it's fairly compliant, but not spend 10 or 15 hours trying to get the 98%. So as to keep the budget down, spend a few hours and update it as to these technical requirements.
Well, my understanding that's needed, and I think we should be doing it. But, so you're suggesting, or that you spend X number of hours, do an update on it, and present that to us at the next meeting. Or
No.
maybe I shouldn't lock you in, but
I think
present it to us.
it would require a public hearing, and I think it would be good to keep it just on the same track as the comp plan and have it come up and advertised at the same
Okay.
time. So that there's not
Okay,
issue
good
with
answer to that.
If we can coordinate maybe after the meeting, figure out the best time.
I have a comment and a question. The comment is, maybe it's because I'm a recovering attorney, but if we're going to do it, I for one believe that the town has an obligation to make sure that every provision in our town code and zoning ordinance complies with the state. And the last thing we would want, especially given our recent history in this town, is to have somebody who's got a lot of free time bringing to people's attention that we're not in compliance with the state code of Virginia, and therefore we're illegal and operating, all kinds of things. So it might cost a little money up front. I'm always aware of attorney's time, what that costs us. But I think it would be money well spent for Mr. Bennett to the extent that we can, because things keep changing, it's a moving target, but working with the planning committee and its program, that when there's things present us for approval, that we all believe that to the best of our ability, we are in full compliance in terms of the references and all the rest with the Code of Virginia. Now, that's my comment. The question is, as town attorney, do we need special authorization to approve funds, or can you simply direct him to do the job of the town attorney and he bills us accordingly? I mean, do we need a motion tonight, or can he just do that as town attorney?
The reason I bring it up is there's a chance it could exceed $750, which would be the mayor's authority.
Yes, for those who don't know, I can spend money wildly, $750 without anybody's approval. I try to do that responsibly. Well, my guess it's going to end up costing more than $750. And I don't know whether you're in a position to estimate what it's going to take, John, but maybe my colleagues would accept the notion that we somehow do this sort of piecemeal. We vote to have you spend up to $750, or I just say you can, to do a preliminary summary, what's it going to take, first cut, what have you, and then come back to us and say, it's going to take X more hours or whatever.
Do you
Or
anticipate
we do it anyway.
do you anticipate having time between this meeting and next meeting to do a substantial part of this? No. All right.
I'm going to be in China for 3 and 4 weeks.
In that case, we can probably live with what you just outlined. If he's not going to have a lot of time in the next 30 days, he can come back and
There's a
report to
lot of
us.
time on an airplane going up there.
Yeah,
14 hours each way.
and then you have to figure in the exchange rates and all the rest of that. But he can let us know next meeting, perhaps with an estimate of what the
But
cost.
essentially, we're committed, are we not, to want to accomplish this, are we? Any other-
Yes.
Right.
Could I make the suggestion, is it something, John, that you could go through the regulations and just, highlight what needs to be looked at, or, maybe like a 2-tier. This just needs a reference change, clarification, or this is gonna need some research and a rewrite. So we can kind of, maybe we could do this in 2 steps. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way, and then when we have to dive a little deeper, and to figure out just how certain things need to be worded. Is that reasonable?
I was really hoping that it all be done in 1 step. That I really want to try to keep this as simple as possible. But this is an ongoing matter, and it's something that I've talked about certainly with different councils over the years, that to try and get close to 100% compliance with everything is an expensive proposition. possible. And I don't, it's all technical stuff. I don't want to try and get into anything that's in the realm of policy or whatever, unless it's something that's required by the code that goes in there.
Well, I would suggest, John, why don't you, you've heard the conversation. You are the town lawyer. Why don't you take a first, and it may be the first of several, or just the first and final, getting it done. And then when you've done that, we can all review it and see this way. But I think we do want to, we don't want to open doors to,
Absolutely, I understand.
but you know.
Mr. Mayor, can I-
Sure.
going back to the Comcast franchise, you were saying there's some things in there that you're concerned about regarding the historic district. Okay. Is that in any way tied to, I know VML had highlighted to people, there was something going on with Richmond and overturned in terms of the internet provider being able to do things irrespective of
Yeah.
historic ordinances?
I don't know where they've ended up on that question, but what Comcast wanted was the absolute right to install their facilities in any public right of way. And it didn't require any local approval. I think they lost on that point, but I haven't kept up with the last round of exactly what happened. But I'm pretty sure that they lost on that.
And that's what this is asking, that they could
They-
do it without regard to the historic district rules or requirements.
This says that they can install it in any right-of-way subject to a permit when necessary. They don't really specify when that is. And our ordinance requires essentially new facilities to be underground. And we say specifically in this that since the town has overhead facilities, they have the right to elect to make it overhead, which of course conflicts with our ordinance in a sort of serious way. And then there's a number of things along those lines that they drafted this to make it convenient for them, but not with any sensitivity for a historic district or complying with our specific ordinances. So it's been sitting around for years, and now there's press on it. Not having it actually works to the town's advantage in a certain fashion. If anything comes up, it's a open playing field.
Okay.
They can't cite a document, so you have to do it this way.
Any other questions? If not, thank you, John. New business.
Mr. Mayor, as a point of order, do we need a motion to hold over the discussion of the Comcast until the next meeting? It's been on a advertised agenda.
We're going to Comcast?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would just sort of lay it on the table for the time being until
Table it?
these points are hashed out with Comcast, because these are not new points. I've raised them years ago, and they said they'd get back to me, and they didn't. And now they've gotten back to me with the same thing, I think thinking I forgot about my earlier comments. So we're sort of back to where we started.
Do we need a motion to table it, or we just move on?
I'd say just move on.
All right,
You
moving
can go
on.
by consent, you know. You agree to table?
Yeah, I'll be with the clerk when it's time to put something on there for everybody. And there's copies of it out there. Welcome any comments that anyone has about this draft, but with the understanding that it's going to be, in my view, reworked substantially if the town's going to. It's something I'm in favor of, recommend to the council for consideration.
Mr. Mayor, I was going to ask tonight that, obviously, this is not the kind of document that we should be dissecting here. It's a technical document. My questions are going to be, what's changed since the last one? And does the town attorney recommend adoption of the changes? So in some ways, I'm glad to hear that this is being not voted on tonight. Because before I can vote, those are my two questions. What's changed from the current contract, and do you endorse the changes. That I need as a minimum before I would be able to vote.
The other thing, you have to have an advertised public hearing.
Once,
So
right.
if this were to come along about the same time as comp plan, it wouldn't do anything to have them all at the same time, putting the same in.
Next item, new business, we need to set a date for budget work session. To remind people, our fiscal year ends June 31st, it's the 30th. We need to vote in our June meeting to approve or not approve, I suppose. We would have a public hearing in May on the budget, when we would have a draft of it. So we need to come up with an April date to work on. And all members of the council are invited, and the public is welcome to come to that work session if they wish. I don't have a proposed date. Jerry, do you have any?
Have they
What makes the most sense? You have all the numbers done,
Yeah, we usually.
the March
kind of-
numbers.
We usually take it somewhere on April 1st numbers. We usually have it during that first week of April.
We have all the March numbers.
Yeah. Well, everything up to April 1st, but yeah, that'll be the March numbers. That's just when we usually do it.
We usually have it during the day.
And when is the meeting, the 10th of April? The
It's
10th.
on the back
Yeah.
on the bottom of the agenda.
Yeah.
And you also have the meeting on April 17th with the planning commission.
What if we did, I'm just picking, we've got school things, but Wednesday the 5th or Thursday the 6th? Throwing out 2 days.
Fifth is no good for me, but the 6th is fine.
Did we do it in the morning, like 10 o'clock?
Yeah, that's what we've done in the past, and they have to be done that way again, but let's say we've got a better idea,
And
let's,
if we can't get it, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be April 1st or so, I mean, we can still do it the.
So it was April
4th or
6th.
6th, you know, the 5th I can't do it.
well, why don't we do it
9
Tuesday the
o'clock.
4th, that gives us more time
Okay.
before
We can look
the
at
next
it.
meeting, might get me out of my exercise class.
April 4th, Tuesday.
So April
10
4th to
10 a.m.,
Tuesday
sir?
at 10 a.m.
Here?
Yeah. I beg of you, do not report to my exercise person what I just said.
You're on camera.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I'm
tell
on
her,
camera.
tell her at once.
It won't surprise me at all, actually. Okay. Time for, that's it on new business. Let me open this up, public forum. People may chat about anything they wish, any subject. Ms. DeSarno.
Okay, now I'm wearing my hat as a member of the Virginia Board of Elections. And I've had a chat with the, sort of off record, with the mayor about this. But one of the things that we have looked at in Rappahannock County is asking that you move the town election to the same date as the general election. So this year, that's obviously the first Tuesday after the first Monday of November, which would mean moving your election 6 months early, or waiting till next year, which would mean it would be 6 months later. So sort of politically, it looked better to move it 6 months early than later, to sort of sell it to the public. I think you would get a better turnout. I know that there was some criticism about the small voter turnout in the last election. Right now, it is costing the town between $3,000 and $5,000. They tell me $5,000 at the Board of Elections. It would really lower the cost also. So I just raise this for your discussion. If you wish to do it, you obviously, this year, you need to make that decision in the next couple of months. It would not change filing for election or anything else. You don't have to get petitions. I mean, it's the same way you've always done your election. But it would just be moving it to the time when there's already poll workers, there's already the ballots, et cetera.
From
et
May
cetera.
to November.
from May to November.
Refresh me, I sort of know, but refresh all of us. What Virginia elections take
Place this
place
year.
this year?
This year,
17th, I know that-
it's the
And then
entire
what
state
takes
house,
place
so
on the 18th?
governor, attorney general, et cetera.
Mhm.
It's a third of the House, it's all of the House of Delegates. It's part of the Senate, not our Senate seat, but obviously our House of Delegates seat. And 2 county supervisors and 2 county board of elections, Board of Education, neither of them from Rappahannock County. Nor would that be true in a year
You mean from the town of Washington?
from the town of Washington, well, representing the Washington district. Next year, it will be a House election, House of Representatives, not House of Delegates. So this year, it's probably going to be a fairly large turnout. Next year, probably less so, but more so than election
way, more so.
for the town election. And so I just put that out there for your consideration and discussion.
Are you sure all those offices are up for election?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you sure all those offices are up for election this year?
Oh, trust me.
I haven't seen
I'm
any-
both,
I haven't seen
I'm
any
both a
yard
member of
signs
the
yet.
Democratic Committee
I
and
haven't seen our road signs
Election
covered
Board
with
of
yard
Elections.
signs.
Yes, it's the
So
governor.
it can't be election year, there's no signs yet.
The state of Virginia has an election every year.
I know.
I have
I'm
discovered
just
to my
kidding, but,
distress now that I have taken this
You
position.
know, our road signs are beautifully clear of, the
Nope.
excessive number of
Virginia,
signs.
yeah.
So-
Oh, well, it's way too soon.
Oh, it's never too soon.
No, there are rules on
It's
signs.
an entity that runs forever.
There are rules on signs.
It never shuts it.
Mr. Mayor,
If you want a sign, Brad,
2 questions, either one of you might be able to answer. So the town sets the date, not the state?
yeah,
But if I may,
yeah.
this was an issue that was looked at by the council probably, I'm guessing 10 or 12 years ago. And this is what we found out, that it would require a charter amendment of the town charter from the General Assembly to
Really?
change the election date. And then there's also some state law requirements too, and I never got that far about that. And this is the reason why, that apparently this was set up in this fashion by design, just like all the constitutional offices locally are never on a national election day. That the design was, for whatever reason, that they wanted these local elections to be on election days, but there wasn't a big national question, so the turnout would be lower. That's a
Yeah.
conclusion you have to draw. But
Well-
Speculating Harry Bird might be.
Yeah,
involved with this.
yeah.
So that-
Well,
but that's-
this would
wasn't
never,
naming
this would never
names.
fall on the presidential year, but it would fall on the gubernatorial year, what I was suggesting. If you waited one more year, it would be a House election, but not, well, it could be a Senate election. In fact, I think Payne is up, so it could be Senate and whatever. Anyway, but I did not know that, so that's an interesting point, so it would not work for this year.
So we sounded out, or took the measure such as we could of the political, we won't call them winds, but breezes. And there wasn't a lot of support for changing the charter because this is nothing specific only to the town, it's statewide. The town elections are in May, apart from any other election.
And this is true of all town elections in Virginia.
As far as I know. As far as I know.
Yeah, but
Well, the city of Fairfax seems to have elections constantly. So that may be true, just having been to my training. But, okay, well, that kind of answers my suggestion, unless we want to next year ask for a change.
I do think your sense of things is correct, though. I was a little appalled that in a town that, I don't know where we are now. I don't know how many voters there are. What do we have, 130 residents who are probably citizens. I don't know if they're all aged appropriate.
Last time around, if I recall, there was something like 90 or so registered voters.
We had 29 people.
And we got essentially, for all that stuff about smallness, which is absolutely true, we actually actually had a turnout that wasn't all that well, relevant number of people. It was something like 90, give or take.
So a third
The
of,
registered voters, yeah.
a third of the.
But there
people
seemed to be, as I remember the vote, a fair degree of consensus because it was something like 28 to 1 for every office holder who was being elected. So I do know from past studies that it is not uncommon, it is not particular to the state of the Commonwealth of Virginia, that the politicians in their infinite wisdom try and bury local elections so that there's very little interest. The argument is, the polite argument is so that a local election is not swayed by the passions of national fury. The reality is it's so that local people can maintain control of their local governments without having to do a whole lot of concern about the voters. So were it something we could change, I would probably support your suggestion. But I was really pretty sure it would take state action. And I'm not sure we want to get the state assembly involved in anything that happens in Washington.
They could re-examine the entire charter.
We could lose the charter.
No, but.
Anyway,
I for
for
one-
another night.
Yeah, I'm sure I'd like to see more turnout rather than less, and I could really think it would make sense, but
It would save some money, as you said.
it doesn't seem. Any other observations? Yes, sir.
Not observations, just an announcement, or word for someone.
No,
I
got a
think-
public comment, you can say anything you want.
Real quick, this is stuff for me. Bill and I, about a year ago, after the first snowstorm, we were very curious to see Avon Hall, what it looked like in the snow. So we walked the property, and of course it was gorgeous, with lots of flowers. But one of the most delightful things was we saw sled tracks. And I don't know if this is an annual tradition or not, or if it's just lucky and fluke or whatnot, but we thought, you know, if we're going to be fortunate enough to, be the next residents, then we would want to come out here, make sure that the next big storm, everybody in town felt very welcome to sled down or do whatever, but enjoy the snow on our property. So we're going to be having lots of fires. Our heat's still sort of iffy, so we'll have the fireplace is going, we'll have hot chocolate, and anybody who wants to drop by to sled or just say hi, just wanted to say open house.
That's very gracious.
Is the pond frozen?
That would be the children drowning. out
Eric
there.
was nice today.
It's just a thought.
What children?
Christmas vacation.
Any other thoughts, questions, observations? If not,
I had to follow, did we get anything on the wall?
I asked for 2 quotes. One fellow recommended said he had too many jobs and couldn't take it on, and I asked Terry Wagner, and he said he would look at it, but he has not come back and used the quote. If anyone else has any suggestions on who to ask?
If they're here, I mean, they're always here.
Yeah.
If they have time.
do they have what we would call rates appropriate for a small town America? As opposed to.
We're supplying most of the stone.
So who-
Just
Mostly it is stone work, I'm not sure, I haven't seen that brick.
No, it's the.
It's the stone.
it's stone wall.
Oh, it is the stone wall?
Stone wall.
It's freestanding though, it's not.
Getting that stone wall back on the show.
Oh.
But it's probably a little more work.
Perfect, they can do it on much.
Who should who should I ask to get the contact number? So it's-
Bob, he's right here.
Oh, Bob will give it to me. Thank you, Bob.
I talked to the guys, and they said they'd be happy to do it, but they just needed time to come in. Well, when they have time,
Lunchtime.
Another job is another job.
That's right.
Well, Bob, it'd be quite wonderful if we could have that done. Before or in time for the garden tour.
See you on the.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
any update on the work on the fire hydrant?
They had to repair a fire hydrant on Main Street that was actually a problem as far as fire service. And I think once we get through this storm, they're gonna be out there.
Excellent, thank you.
They had to prioritize. I don't know why they have to be so slow about it.
But
It's
use.
Weather was too nice.
Anything else, Sean?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, it may be in the draft, but I was wondering whatever happened about the old state facility over on Farmstead. Someone had said something about building affordable housing over there by chance?
This is the VDOT property.
With that, yes, VDOT property, yes. And I was wondering, is that in with the draft?
It's outside the
That's
town.
not in
It's
town.
not in town.
It's not in town, but I was thinking it would be a
Right.
good place to build affordable housing.
Yeah, I,
Count.
I think that's, sounds like a great idea. It has not come under our purview for two reasons. One, it's not in the town, and we don't dictate what happens with a private,
It's privately owned.
as privately owned.
Okay, but I heard
But-
somewhere along.
But the, am I right in believing that the comp plan will to some extent address the issue of the town potentially expanding its borders?
Yes.
There's
Well,
also,
We haven't written our goal, the goal.
there's also room for some confusion because the county is also currently looking at its comp plan. And part of that speaks to where development takes place and certain kinds of development, as I understand it, having looked at it, not in depth. They had, the existing one suggested that certain kinds of development more or less take place in the existing towns and villages. So it's possible that you've heard something along those lines, because if that kind of property was to be developed, there would be a conversation about it, that is it consistent with the outline of the existing county comp plan? So there's a lot of discussion I'm hearing from people. Sometimes they get a little confused about the process the town is undertaking, what they're hearing and seeing about what the county is doing, and then this question about where is development to take place. When people say, oh, there's going to be a lot of development in the town of Washington, that may or may not be true, but the comp plan certainly, the county comp plan certainly envisioned that to the extent there was additional residential housing, certain kinds of housing, certain kinds of businesses, it was the plan that they sort of be clustered where there's existing services. So it would be Amosville, Sperryville, town of Washington, Flint Hill. But that has nothing to do with our comp plan. That's sort of somebody else's vision for the county. Because we're in the county, we're also part of that plan. But our plan can't really speak to what they do, except maybe weigh in on whether there should be some boundary adjustments that might expand or contract our boundaries. So it does get a little, and we're the only one in the county with an independent comp plan, because everyone else is just in the county. We're both in a municipality and a county, so it gets a little bit more complicated. But and you can correct someone who knows, I'm assuming that if push came to shove, the municipality's comp plan takes precedence for what happens in the town of Washington over the county's comp plan.
Yeah.
Well,
But
it's also further complicated by the fact this is the county seat.
Yes.
well, it's actually
Yes and no.
not necessarily complicated. I mean, the county wants development. The county wants it in the villages, which ends up being the town of Washington and Sperryville, because we have wastewater. Flint Hill does not have, they don't have anything with that regard. And if the town wanted to bring in some territory to it, and if the owners of that property wanted that to happen, and if there were residents there, if they wanted that, and someone wanted to do a development for whatever, I would suspect the county would be like happy for that to happen. Although every case would be judged differently. Yeah.
I was wondering, okay, the little section of road that goes to the library, that road that goes through there, does
Yeah.
the town have anything to do with that, seeing the visitor center is over there?
No.
We don't. anything else? If not, we'll close the public forum. And Mr. Bennett, I believe that we're going to enter in a closed session. So can we do that in the most appropriate way as we announce it and do it,
There'd be a motion.
as we always do?
Form of the motion would be for council to enter into closed session in accordance with the provisions of section 2.23711A5, for consultation with the town attorney regarding the matter requiring the provision of legal advice, namely the sale of parcel 3 acres of Avon Hall property.
I want to talk to you.
In accordance with section 2.23711A3, sections consideration of sale or possible sale of same parcel, or discussion in open session that adversely affect the negotiation strategy.
I'll move we go into closed session. See that language of the motion gets submitted.
Roll call. Roll call, okay.
Yes.
Mr. Schneider, we'll start at your end.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Mary Ann, do you have yeses?
It's canceled. Their information.
So you can say over?
I can say over. That's the book.
Are you adjourned?
No, closed session.